Today's reading is Patrick Bateman from the Sexypedia Wiki. Source content warning. While not covered in this entry, the source material deals with potentially disturbing subject matter. If you find it interesting, or are disturbed by the following topics, too many to list, don't underestimate American Psycho. Please check an in-depth list of content warnings, the Wiki recommends doesthedogdie.com, before interacting with it and proceed with caution. Content warning. This page covers sensitive subject matter. If you're disturbed by the following topics, blood, homophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, torture, murder, cannibalism, rape, necrophilia, and animal abuse, please proceed with caution or refrain from reading this entry altogether. The article Patrick Bateman is about a character played by or based on a real person. This article is referring exclusively to the fictional character and is in no way about the real-world person portraying them. Patrick Bateman is a villainous protagonist and unreliable narrator of Bret Easton Ellis's 1991 novel American Psycho and its 2000 film adaptation. He is a wealthy, materialistic Wall Street investment banker who leads a secret life as a serial killer. In recent years, American Psycho's film dramatically resurged in popularity across social media after years of a cult following, with many people praising its satirical take on American individuality, its timeless relevancy in the postmodern age, and of course, the utter sexy man appeal of the egomaniacal Patrick Bateman, who successfully treads the line between the despicable and the absurd. His class is Tiamat, his aliases include Pat Bateman, Mr. Bateman, Marcus Halbertstrom, and Paul Allen, and his source is American Psycho. Archetypes. Brick shithouse. He spends much of his time in the gym, and is exceptionally muscular. Due to the fact he's obsessed with his own image, Patrick constantly works out to maintain his physique. It is stated both in the film and books he does 1,000 stomach crunches each morning. He is exceptionally vain, and takes great pride in the fact that he's so fit. Capitalist. He works as a specialist in mergers and acquisitions at fictional Wall Street investment firm of Pierce & Pierce, and comes from a wealthy background. In the film adaptation, it is mentioned that Bateman's father practically owns the company that Patrick Bateman works at. He enjoys flaunting his expensive purchases. Bateman also idolizes Donald Trump, who, in the 1980s, was considered the real-life embodiment of shallow American materialism and capitalism. Chaos Lord. Kills people for petty reasons and enjoys it. He switches up the way he kills and tortures his victims, which are described in explicit details in the novel. Controversial. Patrick Bateman's increasingly bigoted and violent behaviors have gained him a reputation. American Psycho is considered one of the most banned books in the world. People are extremely opposed to the creation of the 2000 film, going as far as to threaten the actors, namely Christian Bale, who portrayed Bateman. The book itself was heavily debated and criticized for its sexist themes and graphic elements. Distinctive speech patterns. In the film, he has a very particular way of speaking. It's become so iconic people often mimic it in memes. Dominating. Bateman has remarkable control over his personal life to compensate for his crippling superiority-inferiority complex. From his pristine apartment and his expensive suits to his charismatic speech, he is careful to present himself as the epitome of American success. He kills women for sadistic pleasure, and men for making you feel bad about himself. During both the movie and book's many sex scenes, he doesn't focus on the pleasure of his partners, rather his own enjoyment, and will make them do whatever it takes to make it worth his while. Duality. Duality is a consistent element of Bateman's character. He lives a double life as a businessman and a serial killer. He claims to be emotionally devoid, which is clearly contradicted by his outbursts of rage and panic when overwhelmed by trivial inconveniences. He publicly opposes a philosophy of tolerance, equality, and traditional moral values, because he thinks it will make him more likable, but is in fact virulently racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic. Despite his desperation for control and for others to like him, he cannot help that his coworkers see him as a brown-nosed and goody-goody, and mock him as the boy next door. No matter how many people he kills, no matter how many people he confesses to kill, not a single person can see him as anything more than a joke. Egotistical. He is incredibly vain and sees himself as more attractive and successful than his coworkers. He sees himself as very desirable, describing almost every woman as flirting with him or being in love with him, namely his assistant Jean. Grime. Because of how gruesome his murders can be, he sometimes ends up covered in blood. His musical and book counterparts are described eating increasingly disgusting things such as eating sand or a jellyfish he caught in microwave. In the film, he is often covered in his own sweat due to stress. This is especially true during his time with Detective Donald Kimball and his breakdown towards the end of the movie. Intelligence. He graduated from Harvard College and Harvard Business School. He is very crafty, managing to keep his murder secret and killing people in increasingly creative methods. John-locked. He is sometimes paired with blatant homosexual Louis Carruthers due to his failed attempt to strangle him to death in the men's toilets, leading to Carruthers mistakenly taking the situation as flirtation and admitting his feelings to Bateman, much to his disgust. This is especially true for his musical counterpart, which shared many romantically or sexually tense moments with Lewis before rejecting him. Knife murder. Tortures and murders in a variety of fucked up ways. His first murder in the movie is the stabbing of a homeless man on the streets. In the most iconic scene, he hacks his coworker Paul Allen to death with an axe in his apartment after going on a rant about Huey Lewis in the news. Neurodivergent coded. He displays a variety of autistic traits, such as his strict routine and needing to adhere to it. He often struggles in social situations, unable to pick up on cues or read the room, as seen in his what her head would look like on a stick scene. He often infodumps about his interests, namely music, which he will ramble about in great detail. Things that would seem like small inconveniences or trivial issues to others drive him to the brink of tears, such as having a bad seat at a restaurant, or having people stare at him in an awkward conversation. Pathetic. Despite seeing himself as extremely attractive and competent, he is rather pitiful. He often breaks down over small situations and is generally a loser. His friends and coworkers constantly forget his name and make fun of him when they do remember him. He is so unremarkable and lame that Paul Allen, who he spends much of the story plotting to kill, believes him to be someone else entirely and makes fun of Patrick Bateman to his face, calling him a dork or a douchebag. In both the film and book, he tends to be the butt of the joke, since he's seen as a pushover. Timothy Bryce in particular often jokes about Bateman being a bottom. He is rather petulant, and in the book, will mumble things under his breath like an angry child. He is constantly described as being on the brink of tears over small inconveniences. Power. Bateman has considerable wealth and influence, working at Wall Street and living lavishly in New York City. He successfully murders people and gets off scot-free, even after dealing with a detective, evading the police, and even confessing his guilt to his attorney. Quotable catchphrases. Patrick Bateman is debatably one of the most quoted characters of all time. Between his iconic morning routine, several musical rants, "You like Huey Lewis in the news," etc., "Hey Paul," and other psychotic musings, he is constantly referenced. He has been heavily memed, and had a large number of popular TikTok audios taken from the movie. Retro. American Psycho is censored in the 80s. As such, he is surrounded by a retro aesthetic. He is heavily associated with older music and the Walkman. Patrick himself is the embodiment of a yuppie, or young urban professional, which thrived in the mid to late 80s. Suit guy. He owns several expensive tailored suits and is able to tell what kind of clothes his coworkers are wearing, with much of the novel's dialogue consisting of Patrick describing their fashion in detail, along with his own fashion choices. Theme song. He is heavily associated with It's Hip to Be Square due to the iconic scene where he kills Paul, and many TikTok edits of him include The Perfect Girl by Mero. Twisted freaking psychopath. He frequently suffers from hallucinations and questions his own actions to the point where it is left open-ended that he even killed anyone at all, and is adamant to prove his psychopathy to both the audience and his peers. He is the American Psycho after all. Upper class. Being an investment banker on Wall Street and coming from a wealthy family, Patrick has a considerable amount of money. He surrounds himself with expensive designer brands such as Valentino and Armani. He lives in a large, lavish apartment building, so extravagant in fact that Tom Cruise is said to live there. Many of the book's early chapters are spent describing his expensive lifestyle and clothing. Villain protagonist. The villain is protagonist of American Psycho. He is a shallow, entitled, egocentric, materialistic yuppie stereotype who seeks notoriety as a form of attention via committing various felonies, including but not limited to the following: murder, torture, cannibalism, rape, and necrophilia. He regularly cheats on his equally shallow fiancée Evelyn Williams with his mistress, Courtney Lawrence, and many prostitutes and women he encounters at clubs. He targets anyone and everyone, including homeless people, dogs, and even a child, to which he confessed that he did not enjoy killing, purely due to the dissatisfaction upon realizing that it would not affect as many people in the adult world as he expected. Considering how delusional he is, his perception of reality is questionable. This should not gloss over the fact that he will describe how he mutilated a corpse with visceral imagery in the book regardless of whether or not it actually happened. Fanon. Though none of his memes originate from the book, there is one scene from the movie that is well known and often quoted. During this scene, Patrick Bateman is in his coworker Paul Allen's apartment and goes off to put on a raincoat and an axe. He comes back to his coworker while putting on a song. This song is none other than Huey Lewis and the News' Hip to Be Square, in which Patrick Bateman proceeds to go on an unhinged rant about, expressing his like of their song before hacking Paul Allen to death with the axe, blood oozing out of his dead body. The song is often replaced with a parody version of the original called It's Hip to Fuck Bees, made popular from its appearance in a Vinesauce playthrough of Super Mario Galaxy. To a lesser extent, the scene where he and his coworkers are all comparing their business cards to each other is quoted due to its sheer absurdity. Another scene that is also memed is the scene where Patrick Bateman is at his workplace with his Walkman on and his headphones placed in, which is often substituted for other music but is often used to reference Big Shot, a song popular with the Deltarune fandom. There are also many dude bros who want to be just like him, and make Sigma male edits of him. He has become something of an icon for Sigmas, and is often used in relatable posts and memes.